Nope. You betcha, buddy. James is in the process of hitting record on 18 different cameras right now. Yeah. Did 87 push-ups just a second ago. He's got veins popping out worse than he usually does. How's the weather down there? Oh yeah. Dude, it was that way. It was that today here, I bet. It's been stupid hot up here. Well, should have dropped off 2 weeks ago, but we haven't seen anything cold yet.
I'm good now.
No, he's
I'm just pushing my earmuffs in.
pushing his muff in.
All right. Are you guys hot, Tyler?
Yeah, they're
We're hot.
Roger, Rich is good to go?
Yes, sir.
Rich, what's up, buddy?
What's going on, James?
Nothing, just freaking living the dream in the middle of nowhere.
BFE, right?
Still got 5G.
Still got 5G, that's right. We got a cell phone tower up. Okay, I'm gonna mute you guys out. I'm gonna do a little bit of an intro, and you'll hear me do some rambling bullshit, and then I'm just gonna introduce you guys, and we'll do our chatting for whenever. I probably only have an hour on my cameras because of the battery, so usually we can go as long as you guys want to, but this could be a 2-hour one, but I know you guys are going to hunt. So if you got to go in 40 minutes or 45 or whatever, just say, hey, dude, we got to step out.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to mute you. Hey, talk one more time so I can hear the volume on your call.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
That's pretty loud. That's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't okay? Good, dude.
Hashtag jealous girlfriend.
Roger.
Yeah.
I was wondering if that was going to pop up. Okay. All right, dude. I'm going to mute us out and mute you guys out, and we're going to do a little bit of an intro. What's up, guys? I'm James O'Neill with O'Neill Ops, your host of the Predator Hunter podcast. We've got Keith Rissy as co-host, and this is the place where we break it down. We go into detail with the equipment that we use and how we use it, application specific. I think we've got an awesome show put together for you tonight. If everything pans out, we've got Tyler, Adair, and Ishihara from Ultimate Night Vision. And this has been something I've wanted to do for quite a while. We've been working with them for years regarding night vision and thermal imaging. And I'm just going to take a quick minute to briefly summarize kind of our relationship with them. Well, first of all, a lot of you guys that are familiar with what we do already, you know that we went to the state and got some legislation passed. The whole time we were in touch with Tyler. And I mean, he knows pretty much everything there is to know about night hunting, thermal, night vision, etc. He's the go-to guy. And we got a lot of information from him. And not only that, we got a lot of equipment from him. And for us, that's a huge asset because we get tons of questions, just like the suppressor deal, where, you know, being able to run numerous makes, models of manufacturers, equipment that a lot of guys unfortunately can't afford. It allows us a venue, a way to help those guys make an educated decision based on our experience so that, you know, we can get them into the piece of equipment that suits them for their application. So working with Tyler and Rich and all the fellas down at Ultimate Night Vision, it's just an awesome setup for us because not only does it help us give you guys more insight, but he allows us to utilize tools for our lifestyle, for our living, to protect our investment, to protect the animals that we raise for the world's food. And we look at that equipment as tools. It's not just for fun. It's not just for game. It's a job. And a lot of guys need to look at it from that perspective, because I think, unfortunately, a lot of guys don't. They just don't understand. So with that said, I'm going to introduce, I'll let Tyler and Rich introduce themselves and kind of go over, who they are, what they do. You guys can just kind of chat about, Tyler, introduce yourself first, and then Rich can introduce himself and kind of tell us what he does. And we'll just ad lib it. I don't have anything written down. We're just going to chat. I'm going to ask you guys questions, detailed questions, and we'll go from there.
Well, thanks for having us on.
Absolutely.
In a nutshell, I am the owner-operator at Ultimate Night Vision. I am addicted to night vision and night hunting, and have been for a couple decades. And about 10 years ago, I started this company to rent thermal night vision and sell thermal night vision, and the rest is history. It's been a crazy ride. It's been a lot of fun. Got to do a lot of hunting, meet a lot of cool people, and here we are today.
Okay.
Rich?
Yep.
Go for it.
All right. My name's Rich. Work at Ultimate Night Vision. I think this is right about a little over 5 years now. Before starting with Ultimate Night Vision, Tyler had my own night vision company for about a year, but Tyler was obviously the man relating to all things business and all things night vision. So we teamed up, and I've been working there ever since.
Hey.
And a lot of the videos that we have, well, the majority of the videos we have, some of them, or one of them, I think just hit 50 million views, was the content from you, James. And Rich usually puts all that together. So along with being an expert on night vision, he is an expert video editor and, kill shot video editor, would be more specific, I guess you'd say.
He knows what he's doing. He definitely.
He knows what he's doing.
Yes, I ask him quite a bit. Rich has helped me a lot, immensely, on the YouTube deal, the analytics, the algorithm. That's freaking crazy. I mean, I just throw shit at the wall to see if it'll stick, and he says, "Dude, do it this way," and it's the right way. Hey, did that video of you guys the other night hit 1 million views on Facebook? Or
I think it's pretty close.
Is it really?
I haven't looked. Yeah, I haven't looked this afternoon, but it was. Yeah, I think it was about 900,000 last time I looked.
Rich, were you?
Well, I mean,
that?
it was just a video of running over hogs in a Tacoma and sticking a Diablo out the window and doing a drive-by.
Amatine was doing a drive-by.
Yeah. I mean, who wants to see that, right?
No, who doesn't want to see that?
Fun stuff.
Exactly.
Yep, hit 1 million.
That's awesome. So, hey, Tyler, on what is some of the incentive that you had to get started into it? You had to have some kind of, you didn't just go, hey, this, how did you fall into it, or did you plan it? Or, were you thinking, you knew there was a market there with the hog situation? How did you get into this, into your business?
So I have been a lifelong pig hunter, mostly deer hunting, day hunting. And then when I got into my early 20s, I got into night hunting, and I actually at the time worked for a company that rented equipment. And so one day I just had this idea. I want to buy a thermal, but man, they're expensive. I wonder if you can rent them. And at the time, there was nowhere to rent them. So that's how it all started. I said, I'm going to buy one. So I just bought one thermal, started renting it, bought another one, started renting it. Before I think we had 30 rental units, and that was kind of the heyday of renting. It was just rentals went crazy, and then that was before we even got into sales, and that just blew up. So that's really how it started. Was I went looking for a scope, and because of the price point, thought it'd be nice if you could rent it. Couldn't rent it, so I just figured I'd do it myself, and it worked out.
How does your rental system? How do you have it set up? As far as, does a guy rent it for a week, 2 weeks, or how does it?
So basically, it's a weekend rental. We do 3-day and a 10-day. So basically, somebody calls in or emails in, gets in touch with us, and we send them a form to fill out. They fill out a form. We credential them, make sure they're don't have any indicators on their background check that would indicate that they're trying to take a unit or anything like that. And then we send them a unit, and include a return label. They use it and send it back.
Let's say I was getting ready to maybe come down there for a hog hunt or anywhere or a coyote, anything. What's my, like, I want to rent one from you. How long are you looking as far as I call you and contact you? How long before I have that in my hands, you think?
I mean, in some cases it's the same day. Just depends.
Really?
So
Yeah.
normally we do weekend rentals, but if you called me today and said, "Hey, I need something tomorrow," we could do that.
Really?
We work that out. Yeah.
For those,
Well, not now, but I mean tomorrow.
Right,
yeah,
right.
4, 5 o'clock. Yeah.
for guys that are out there listening and like, hey, you know what, that might be a pretty nice little gig, or, you know, a nice little weekend. What would a guy be looking at average cost to get into your average rental period? You know, what is it? 2 days, 3 days, 5 days? The average guy that comes down, what's his average rental period and his rate to get into something?
So in Texas, we usually ship rentals on Wednesdays. They usually arrive on Thursdays, guaranteed by Fridays. And they keep them over the weekend and send them back on Monday, or you're dropping off. You can pick them, dropping off, you can drop off on Tuesday. It's about $250 for a middle of the road thermal weapon sight. It's $200 for a helmet, like a night vision, you know, PVS-14. And then we have, you know, nicer units like a Mark III for like $350. So in that price range, at $200 to $350.
What do you think those guys are seeing? I mean, are most of your customers, do you talk to some of those guys to see? It's obviously your job to fit them with the weapon sights, the equipment, but it's their job to locate the ranch, or, you know, the rancher, the farm, wherever to hunt. What are those guys pulling success rate wise that are going? Are they pretty satisfied with what's going on with their hunts?
I would think so. Rich, what would you say? I'd say it's either they're really satisfied or they're mad at us because they missed something.
Yeah.
That shot missed. What do you think, Rich?
Yeah, we get a lot of emails telling us all the hogs that people kill or the coyotes that people kill. I mean, generally it seems to be super positive. But if you go somewhere and there's no hogs or there's no coyotes, I mean, there's not much you can do about that.
Sure.
But I mean, the thermal is going to increase your chances exponentially.
So
I'd say 90% of people are happy. I mean, we get a lot of, you know, like, holy crap, I can't believe how awesome this stuff is. Just because a lot of guys don't know, you know, they're expecting one thing from a thermal, and they get it in their hands, and like y'all have seen, it's a whole new world. You know, it's
right.
now it's not a blob out there. I mean, it's crystal clear. You can see every little detail.
So is Rich's phone ringing off the hook on the weekends for these first timers, per se, that don't know how to zero it in or do anything like that? Or how does that work?
So,
you know what I mean?
Like we did with
I would
the
hate
first
to be the weekend guy just to answer your phone.
yeah, all of our phones are usually ringing off the hook.
I could see that.
But yeah.
But, not too bad. I mean, we try to set people up and answer people's questions beforehand.
Sure.
Set their expectations realistically, and if they have questions about sighting them in and stuff like that, we usually go over it with them over the phone.
You bet.
So
question usually comes up earlier.
Most people have a pretty smooth process. I mean,
yep.
we try to tell people to set aside an extra hour or two to get it sighted in and get familiarized with the menus and stuff like that, because there is a learning curve, but most people do okay.
But if you're getting it on Thursday and your hunt's the weekend, you know, that sets up pretty nice.
Yeah, not too bad.
So from when you started, Tyler, doing what you're doing with the thermal and night vision compared to what's out there now, what have you seen? What are some of I talked to David Risdall and kind of quizzed him about it when he came out it was 2 years ago this fall, I think. And he's an engineer from FLIR. You actually put him in touch with us. What have you seen in the advancements of, let's say thermal first, and then let's talk about night vision.
Well, the main thing in thermal I've seen advancements are the price. Honestly, when I got into it, a 640, 2.5 weapon sight was, you know, $12,000, $13,000. Now we're seeing that more around the $5,000, $6,000 range. So the performance has gotten better, but it's still 640. So the resolution hasn't increased. The lenses have gotten smaller because the pixel pitch has gotten smaller, but the price has come way down.
Do you think that trend's going to continue? I mean, or is there a point there where you can't with the technology, the advancements in technology? Do you think that it's going to continue down that route to cheapen up, or are they going to make so high a quality, nasty, good stuff that they're going to actually, maintain that price or increase it for the good stuff?
I wish I knew. It's kind of a loaded question, but I mean, it's getting better. I mean, some of the stuff, even if it's 640 10 years ago compared to 640 today, I mean, there's definitely a difference in the displays, difference in the size of the units, difference in the camera cores and the image processing. But until we hit 1280 and get a small 1280, I don't really see a huge leap in performance.
What's it gonna take to get that? Explain to these guys what you mean by 1280, the resolution.
Yeah, so the highest resolution available right now is a 640 core, 640 by 480, and there are such things as 1280 cores. They're just not commercially available. Well, they are commercially available now, but they're not in weapon sights and on binoculars. It's not a camera core that is widely used. They're super expensive. So until we get a higher resolution, I don't really see much else happening.
Is that like is that just a core that's cooled with like a heat sink, or is there something else going on with that 1280?
All these are just long wave, uncooled cores. None of them are cooled.
Okay, so
they've improved the non-uniformity correction,
the nuke?
The image basically, the nuke with processing, but they're still uncooled. There are some cameras that don't need as much nuking, but they're still not cooled. Cooled is a whole different realm.
That's
awesome.
We're not going to see anything like that probably ever.
Not anytime soon. There's also some government restrictions.
Yeah,
on certain items like that. So
I got you.
Until those 1280 cores are available and widely used, and until certain restrictions are lifted, then we're kind of stuck with what we have today, which is cooled camera cores and mostly 640, but a couple 1280 expensive 1280s out there.
If you look through the Trijicon stuff, I mean the 640 with the 12 processor, it to me is I don't see how you can get a whole lot better than that, or why you would need something better. That's pretty damn good. But for the guys that have no idea,
why do you need a Raptor, James? That's kind of
you got me on that one. Why? Well, hey, if we're working with guys like you and there's a 1280,
how are you going to do a 90-foot Raptor jump without a Raptor, dude?
Yeah,
if there is one available, we're working with you, we're going to try freaking our damn best to get it. So for guys that that just don't know, because the guys that I talk to on the phone that are interested in thermal, even though I probably don't need to, I run them through the ringer just with some of the tech aspects that I know. Like, hey, do you know what 640 is versus a 320 or a 384? Sorry, dude, I got another. No, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, so like I said, I kind of give guys an idea. Well, it's like the germanium lens size also. You got a bigger lens, you get more magnification, you get less field of view, which is kind of the same with the day optic. You zoom in, you lose your field of view. But explain to guys the major differences between basically right now the two types of thermals. Like the resolutions, the 640 versus the 384, and then tell us about like the cores, like the 17 versus the 12, and what those mean. Let's get into a little bit of detail.
Yeah, so the resolution is pretty straightforward. It's how many pixels are on the sensor. So there's 650 or 40 pixels by 480 pixels, or it's 384 by 288, or it's 320 by 240. That's just the resolution. It's just the input resolution. Can't change it. There's nothing you can do to the unit to make it higher resolution. It just is what it is. The pixel pitch is the size of each pixel. So like you see 12 micron, that's the size of each individual pixel is 12 microns wide on a 12 micron camera core. So on a 25 micron camera core, each pixel is about twice as wide and tall. So that means that the sensor is about twice as big on a 25 micron camera, which means you need a lens that's about twice as big to get the same performance. So really what it all boils down to is the smaller the pixel pitch, the smaller lens you need to get the same performance, which translates into the less money you have to spend on a lens to get the same performance.
Gotcha. What
does that
absolutely no
does that
hell,
make sense?
absolutely
Okay,
yeah, that's a perfect that's exactly what we're looking for, because guys, they may not care to know it, but it gives them an idea. And it's I think personally it's something really good for fellas to know and understand, because 90% of the guys I talk to don't, and they and 90% of them are glad that we kind of run them through it. Before we go into some of the different manufacturers, because I think you probably hammered through thermal pretty decent regarding the sensor, the display, etc. Let's take a quick look at night vision. What are some of the advancements you've seen in night vision from when you started to what you're seeing now?
Honestly, there really hasn't been a lot of advance in technology that I can think of. Rich, what do you think? I mean, they had filmless when we got into it.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of been I'd say a shift, but I wouldn't say any major breakthroughs or advancements. The biggest thing was probably the biggest couple things would be the shift from thin film Gen 3 tubes to filmless Gen 3 tubes. Now, it's pretty widely accepted that the filmless Gen 3 tubes are going to be the highest performing tubes. And then just trend wise, most people are moving or have a preference for white phosphor over green phosphor tubes, which is just kind of a personal preference rather than a performance aspect. You're not going to get any additional performance gains with a white phosphor tube over an equivalent green phosphor tube, but that's just kind of how the market's going. And it's driven a little bit by the military. The military's transitioning mostly over from green to white phosphor.
And there's no real reasoning behind that other than, I mean, if they're transitioning from the green to the white, there's got to be, is there more distinct contrast and targets, little things like that you might see?
I think if you ask people who use it, some people may say they get a little bit better contrast. I don't notice a difference personally.
I don't either.
A lot of people say it's easier on the eyes, and to me, it was a welcome change from using green for so long that white was refreshing. But I think that could easily happen the opposite way. If I was using white phosphor and switched to green, I would probably think the same thing. So,
if you look around on the internet, you'll see that there are studies that green is better. You can the human eye can see green easier. And you'll see people say, "Oh, the white phosphor is better or easier in the eyes," but really it is just a personal preference. I mean, it's not a big enough difference for me to, walk out the door and go, "I have to have white or green." Either one works just fine. It comes down to what you want, what you can find, what you can afford.
So looking at that,
and right now, what's in stock, because there's not much.
Yeah.
There's a lot of demand for night vision at the moment.
I can see. I've had a lot of guys asking a lot of crazy ass stuff, and rightfully so, to tell you the truth. I mean, shit, with the shit show that's going on, I'd freaking, if I could. I mean, absolutely, it's an asset to have. That's for damn sure. So I've heard some guys saying that you're going to get less life on a tube with a filmless tube versus one that's filmed. Explain, is it not going to matter regarding, how long you're going to own it, or is that just not the truth?
Rich, how many filmless tubes have you had that have died from overuse?
0. Yeah, I think that was an issue, or thought to be an issue, a long time ago, but it's just not the case. these tubes are manufactured to go to the military. The military has a mean time to failure of 10,000 hours, which I think mean time to failure is defined by where the tube has reached 50% of its original performance. And I think the tubes that they're currently manufacturing, including filmless tubes, are lasting much longer than that. But I mean, they easily meet the mean time to failure of 10,000 hours, which, if for most people, even the heaviest users, you're really not going to approach those numbers. I've had the same filmless white phosphor tube for 5 years now. I use it 1 or 2 times a week, 8 hours each night. I use it, and I mean, I don't notice any difference compared to when I got it, and compared to newer tubes.
Well, say your tube starts to degrade, your tube goes down. What are you looking at to replace that? I mean, is it going to, if you already have your housing and everything else, is you just toss it, you send it in, have a new tube put in? What are you looking at for a cost for something like that?
Well, the failure rate is really low on intensifier tubes. And it depends on what happens to it, but the most common failure is going to be the power supply failing. And if that's the case, you're looking at about $500 to repot the tube with a new power supply. So that's why you see these warranties that are so long on night vision, is because the failure rate is so low. So it's not much of an issue, or not something to really worry about. But I mean, if the tube does fail, like if it loses its vacuum seal and it actually fails, the tube's definitely the most expensive part of that unit, any night vision device. So you're looking at pretty much the entire cost of the device if that tube goes down. But I mean, I don't think I've seen any failure of a tube besides a power supply in the 5 years that I've been doing it, that we've sold anyway. I've seen people make posts on the internet about a tube, quote, going to air that's losing its vacuum seal, but that's maybe once or twice.
And does that mean it's toast? Does that mean it's freaking toast?
Yeah, it's toast.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's very rare for an occurrence to happen like that. I mean, every once in a while, and it's pretty rare too, is the power supply goes out. But I mean, even then, that's really uncommon. I think maybe I've only personally known of a handful of times that's happened, in all the items that I've owned myself or sold, or that were sold to somebody who I know. So it's pretty rare.
The only time I've seen it happen is on a tube from the 1990s.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. That's good. That's nice to know. Really, I mean, to a lot of guys, a little bit of incentive. What's the difference between a filmed versus unfilmed?
Well, that could be hard. I guess I don't know how long of an explanation you want.
Just, I mean, I'm assuming unfilmed, you're going to get a little bit brighter, a little bit better picture because there's less in there. Just, I mean, if you.
Yeah, I'll try to explain it in a concise manner. I don't know if I'll succeed. So when they first started manufacturing Gen 3 tubes, they were having issues with the tubes burning out too quickly. And it was because of the chemical poisoning that happened within the tube. So their solution for that was to put this ion barrier, this film, over the microchannel plate to prevent this poisoning of the photocathode from those impurities that were inside the tube. So that protected the tube and extended the tube life, but it also prevented some of the light coming through from being converted from a photon to an electron and going to the output side of the tube. So you get some increased protections, but also you're losing some performance. But L3 figured out a way to basically manufacture the tubes and scrub out all of those impurities, or the vast majority of those impurities in the tube. And so we're able to manufacture those without the ion barrier, and therefore getting greater performance while also still getting the runtime that they needed. So I guess that's the best way that I can describe it without going into too much detail.
That's good. And are you seeing like that? You said that's only in the Gen 3 tubes when they started doing that, when they kind of broke that down.
Yes. Yeah, I think that was just because the chemical makeup of Gen 3 tubes, the gallium arsenide photocathode that was susceptible to ion poisoning.
So when you look at a tube or when you look through, like when we've got a couple of PVS 14s that we're using from you guys. And once you get the diopter and your focus, I mean, finally tuned to your eye, you can see the chicken wire, the honeycombs. Explain to guys what that is.
Well, honeycomb and chicken wire are, I guess, those are two different things. Honeycomb is something that you're going to see in any tube if you get in bright enough conditions, and especially if you're looking at like a light surface. So a lot of times people will buy
light surface.
A light surface.
Oh, okay,
like
gotcha.
Like a white wall, or like a cloud or something like that on an overcast night. So a lot of times people will buy a night vision device. The first thing they're going to do is they're going to go in their bathroom or their closet, and they're going to look at a white wall with it and with the illuminator on. And in those conditions, you're going to see the structure of, I think it's the fiber optic twist that's in the output side of the tube. It looks like a little honeycomb. So that's just inherent in the structure of the tube, and that's totally normal as long as it's not something that's visible or distracting under normal conditions. Chicken wire is, I don't know if chicken wire is a different thing or just a more extreme version of that. Maybe Tyler can expand on that, but that's kind of like I'd say a cosmetic blemish or defect in a tube, which is just going to be dark lines that you'll see, dark patterns throughout the output side of the tube that you can see under most conditions or all conditions.
I think that's exactly the differences between the two terms. One is inherent in the tube, and one is a blemish.
Okay.
And there's a scale from having to put it on a white wall to see it to always seeing it. Doesn't mean it's a bad tube. Doesn't mean that it's lower performing. It can be kind of annoying, but usually it's only under high light conditions or higher light conditions, and it's not a big problem.
So when somebody's going to buy a tube, let's go into details. Somebody wants to buy a high quality tube versus a low quality tube. You might have some, like you said, some very mild imperfections. You might have a little bit more moderate imperfections on that tube. What are all of the factors from the blemishes to the line pair to the signal to noise? If you can just touch base on all of those to give guys an idea, because I have a lot of guys asking me too, like, hey man, what would be good PVS 14 to get or night vision? And I'm like, it depends on, what kind of tube you're after. Explain to guys the introductory tube with, the little bit lesser quality versus the higher quality, the more coveted tubes.
We don't really sell low quality tubes. So I don't know much about them. I know they're
good
out
answer.
there, but
fucking good answer.
All the tubes that we sell are going to be good, excellent, or incredible. I don't know how you want to classify them, but one of the most popular tubes we sell, we call them 1701s because that's the commercial contract. They're all mostly good or excellent performing tubes. I would say this is a topic that's really, really overthought, overdone, kind of guys getting a piss and match over, specifications. A lot of times you'll never even be able to see or to understand or to be able to visualize the difference between, a 25 and a 30 and a 30 and a 32 signal to noise, or a 34 and a 35. But in general, for signal to noise, 25 is good, usable. 30 is great. Anything above 30 is excellent. And most of the tubes we sell Actually, I can't remember the last time we sold a tube under 25. But they're out there, and they're not bad tubes. It just depends on what you're doing with them. I know guys that have tubes that are, 25, 26 Illinois, they can drive around with them just fine, as long, because they're not out in a super dark forest. And then other guys that, need that 35 signal Illinois to, like Rich, when he goes hauling off, tromping through the woods trying to find a pig he shot that, ran into the woods 350 yards and there's zero light in there. He can't see. So he needs really good night vision. No, right, Rich?
Or thermal.
Hey,
there we go.
There we go. We're going to go there. We're going there.
Rich, you wounded
just
shit.
To break it down into general terms, if you want a good baseline for a tube that's going to be excellent all around and have, there's not going to be any sort of deficiency in any area, just go for a mil-spec tube. The government has minimum specifications for all these different things that you've mentioned, and if you buy a mil-spec tube, you're guaranteed to get a tube that meets all those minimum specifications, both performance-wise and cosmetically. If you want to find a tube that is a better value,
like the UNV tubes,
we sell mil-spec tubes and we sell commercial tubes. The mil-spec tubes, if you buy one, you're guaranteed to get a baseline of a really good minimum specs, and you're not going to get anything less than that. If you have done your research and you know what you're looking for, or if you want some better value, you can buy a commercial tube, which may meet or exceed those specs, those minimum specs that you can expect from a mil-spec tube, and save some money while doing it. So,
But it will have one area where it doesn't, which makes it a commercial tube. Like, for example, it could be that the tube takes more than half a second to turn on.
Oh,
do you really care about that? Or the tube, has a high EBI or a high, one of those the specs that are taken into account for mil-spec tubes could be out of spec, but the rest of the tube could be sky high, and it'd be an awesome tube to use, awesome tube to own.
What's EBI?
So it really gets kind of equivalent background.
Okay.
Yeah, equivalent background illumination. Basically, it kind of sets the noise floor of the tube. So it's the noise that's created in the tube, or what you see in the tube when no light is on the photocathode. So in practical terms, it comes out to, if you have a tube with really high EBI, especially in hot conditions, you may have a more hazy looking image with less contrast than a comparable tube that has low EBI. So, but all this stuff is, you can really get into the weeds with this stuff, but generally you're going to want a tube that has a lower EBI, but
at the same time, if you got a com spec, it's got a sky high specification and everything else, and the EBI is 1.5 instead of 0.9. It's not something it's not a big deal. It's not something you should make a buy-in decision over, in my mind. I don't know what you think, Rich, but that's kind of what I think about it.
Yeah, tubes are really it's not a perfect analogy, but tubes are like diamonds. They're all going to have some flaws. They're all going to have certain characteristics that are higher or more desirable than other ones. So the best thing to do is do your research. If you have questions, if you're confused about stuff, give us a call. We're happy to explain stuff. It's easy to explain stuff as it pertains to something specific rather than just generally saying this is the gospel about tubes, because a lot of it's relative, a lot of it's subjective, a lot of it you could attribute to diminishing returns in terms of the amount of money that you spend to try to get better specs on a tube, or the amount of time that you spend looking for the perfect tube, whether that's going to be worth it for your application and going to be worth waiting that long, or worth spending the extra money to get some sort of incremental or marginal improvement in the tube. So the best thing to do if you're not sure is just to give us a call.
Gotcha. But basic rundown, if they were going to get one from UNV, it's going to be a good tube. They're going to
we're going to set you up with a good tube, and we're going to ask you what your budget is, what you're going to do with it, if you have any certain specific preferences or requirements, and then help you pick out a tube that's going to meet all those things.
So
we'll shoot you straight every time. Don't worry.
Absolutely. So you would be probably amazed if you knew how many guys that I talk to that ask the difference between thermal and night vision. I think we might have talked about it a little bit on that night hunting podcast that we did, but what are some of your guys' takes to give guys to distinguish the differences between night vision and thermal imaging?
In the context of hunting, and just generally usefulness, I would say thermal is going to be much more useful to hunters than night vision is, for the most part. But they kind of go hand in hand, and they complement each other. I'll say that. But that's another topic where you can get really into the weeds. But
we are going to go there for a little bit.
Okay, sure. For detection and for hunting, thermal, in my opinion, is going to be much more useful. Like if somebody asks me, I have a certain amount of money, I can only afford to buy one thing, what's the most important, or what's the first thing I should buy? The thing that I'm going to recommend is a thermal weapon scope.
Okay. Now what happens if you're down in Texas and there's a bunch of pigs and they're rolling around in mud, or there's a coyote that gets wet up here and his hide freezes? Are you going to be able to see him with thermal?
Yeah.
That's a good question, James. Yes, the answer is yes.
I'm just joking with that. Okay. Go with like a little bit. I mean, I say the same thing to guys. If the way I explain it is we've probably kill another 20 coyotes more a year because of thermal versus night vision, where we are walking in and we have a helmet mounted scanner. And if we didn't have it, we wouldn't see that heat signature bedded down 50 to 100 yards away, curled up. And then, a lot of times we'll lay down, we'll lip squeak, boom, he'll pop up, come running in, we kill it. We would have walked right by that thing with night vision. We absolutely would not have seen it with night vision on the full moon, even with a snow cover in a good ambient light source. We would not have seen it. That's kind of how I explain it to guys up here where we are. But go ahead.
I say thermal creates contrast between living things, between animals and the background, and that's really the basis. That's why it's so useful. Night vision doesn't do that. Night vision, amplifies light, and thermal sees heat. So, like you're saying, you can walk out into a field and there can be a coyote, you're just not going to see it. So, in my mind, and of using thermal and night vision the past 10 years, I can't think of a reason to use night vision except for driving. And I know that sounds kind of funny coming from me, but I really don't have a lot of use for night vision except for driving or for navigating. And even then, like in my hunting buggy, I just took the windshield out so I can drive with thermal. So thermal is king in my book. It's where it's at for hunting.
So going there, I try not to read a lot of stuff online where guys have like a piss and match or whatever you call it. But what's your thoughts on navigating with a helmet mounted thermal on foot or in a vehicle if you don't have, any kind of thermal barrier?
Well, it depends on who you talk to. Works just fine for me. How about you, Rich?
I'd say it works 95 to 99% of the time. I do have a couple stories where thermals failed me. I'd say if you're navigating on pretty flat terrain or familiar terrain, either on foot or by vehicle, if you're driving on roads, if you're driving on a property where in a pasture where there's not going to be big ruts or anything too out of the ordinary, you're going to get around with thermal just fine. I mean, you want to use common sense. If you're on really uneven terrain on a new piece of property, you don't know if there's going to be washouts. You don't know if there's can be hazards with water, sometimes T-posts sticking up.
I wouldn't
other
advise
things.
that with night vision either, though.
Right,
You know?
right.
Yeah.
I agree. But yeah, I mean, thermal generally is going to be sufficient. I do have one story where I stepped off into a canal with helmet mounted thermal, where the water was covered by a bunch of algae, and in the thermal that just looked like dirt, and I stepped right on it and went into my up to my chest in water. So that was one situation where thermal didn't work out for me.
Did you keep
vast majority of the times, yeah, thermal's going to be just fine for navigation, or just using your naked eye for navigating, or a red light. Honestly, I mean, most nights it just doesn't get that dark where you can't navigate just with your naked eye or with a red light if it gets really dark.
But for us, that's not tactical enough, so we don't do that. No, hey,
I
but
was wearing a red light up there when I came to hunt with James, and he said, "Get that shit off your head right now."
those
And he flipped
coyotes
it off.
can see red light up here, dude. South Dakota coyotes can
Golly.
see red light. But I agree with Tyler. I have guys that tell me you're going to get somebody hurt telling them that. And I'm like, man, like Rich said, use common sense. Don't be stupid. All right. If you don't know the layout of the land, then frickin' you should go scout it out the day before you go hunt. But we use thermal.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you can drive into a washout or a culvert with your headlights on, or in broad daylight if you're unfamiliar with property.
That's why we have Raptors.
That's a good point. That's 100%.
We got winches. That's right.
Yeah.
We need to get one of those. But I use thermal on the helmet I will walk up to a barbed wire fence. I will see the barbed wire, and I'll walk up to it and I'll reach out and I'll grab it, all while I'm watching it with thermal. And I've had guys tell me that you can't do that. And I'm like, dude, I do it. I mean, I do it almost every night when we go, when we start hammering here in the next month. So I just,
if you're not hurtling it at 10 miles an hour.
Exactly. I'm not doing a run and gun somersault style, but I agree with, I like having the night vision option for especially up here, guys, because it gets cold. I mean, it's nice to be able to get into some of these sets where we do unfortunately see some of these coyotes that get not only call shy, but light shy. We've seen it firsthand. So a lot of times later on in the season, we're getting into these sets in pitch black, and we're using the PVS 14 to do it. Be able to look through the window on our pickup and drive right in the two-track trail and get out without pretty much any light source other than, the park lights that come on when you open your door up. But I agree. I just was wondering what you guys' perspective was on navigating with thermal. And hey, what's your guys' thoughts on running a thermal on one side and a night vision on the other on a bridge? You guys ever do that before?
Until you can buy two thermals for a bridge, it's an acceptable compromise.
What's that?
I said until you can buy another thermal for that bridge, it's an acceptable compromise.
That's actually what I've been running for a long time. I don't know if I'm a pioneer on that or not, but been doing it for a long time. And I mean, that's what works best for me. I have the night vision on my right eye for driving in my truck, because I'm not in the side-by-side. I'm in the truck with the windshield. So I use the night vision for driving, and then I have a thermal on my left eye for scanning out the window. And then down here when we're hog hunting, we see some hogs once we get out of the truck, I usually just take the night vision off, leave it in the driver's seat, and just stalk in with just the thermal.
Same thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what we do.
Same exact thing. Yep. Tyler, what did you say about the compromise? You kind of cut out a little bit.
Well, I said until you can get another thermal for your bridge, that's an acceptable compromise. I want two thermals.
Hey,
Yeah.
you came out with Chris, not this last winter, but the winter fall before, and you had two skeets.
Yep.
And
Still
those,
got 'em.
Oh man, is that what you run on your helmet? Is that like your go-to?
That's my go-to.
So tell guys, what are your skeets kind of juiced up a little bit, or what? How are your set up? Like,
They're just off the shelf Trijicon skeeters. I don't know if they're ever going to make them again, or if they may start offering them again this year. Who knows? But they're awesome little credit card sized, 17 micron, uncooled VAE core, micro monocular, and the image on them is just insane. It's outstanding.
We looked through them. It's probably the best things I've ever seen. Crazy.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Rich has one too, don't you, Rich?
I do.
Is that the one you run? Do you run one and then you Rich? Is that what you use, a skeet on one and a PVS on the other?
Yep, skeet on my left eye and PVS 14 on my right eye.
So how do you guys ever? Tyler probably doesn't with his setup, but Rich, what's your thoughts on like a pair of nods? Like what I think Michael Boclieri came out, was it 2 years ago, 2 or 3 maybe now? Gosh dang, already. He's a head Loophole Optics Academy instructor, and he had a pair of, I think, 31s. And oh my gosh, dude, I was really impressed with those. I put there was like 0 weight to them things, and I folded them down, and I'm like, oh yeah, for driving around at night, that would be freaking the way to do it.
I have a set of 31s. They're at the house. That's where they stay most of the time.
Yeah, if you're just ripping around in your Raptor and just having fun, want to drive at night,
doing sweet jumps.
If you're doing tactical stuff, then the binos.
We are.
The binos are, yeah.
It's right up your alley.
Binos are good, but honestly,
you would
for me,
love
for
31s. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you need those 31s warmed up, Tyler, just send them on north.
You got it.
They better be tan though.
No, they're not. What were you saying, Rich?
Yeah, Rich, hammered out.
I was just saying tan is 20% better. You get better performance. No, for hunting, when I've used a set of DTMVGs, a set of binos, I felt helpless. Like I just felt crippled. Like I couldn't, not having that thermal. Not having that thermal to be able to scan stuff out the window, just did not feel right to me at all. I mean, you just miss so much stuff with night vision that a helmet mounted thermal is one of the most useful additions that I've ever made to my set of equipment.
I can see that. What's your guys'?
Was James flexing in the mirror again? What was going on just then?
I'm looking at myself in the window.
Yeah.
That's funny as shit. Hey, I have a lot of guys every so often ask about clip-ons, a thermal clip-on or night vision clip-on. These guys, I mean, a lot of guys don't understand the concept of long range at night. And with what we do filming, most of the time, 95+% of our shots are 100 and in.
Oh, sure.
And we kind of make it a point to be that way because we try to get something cool, some really good close up footage. And at night, if you don't want to pretend like we know what we're doing, but at night, if you take your time, you can close that distance to get that close. But a lot of guys think that they're going to get into using their day rig, rigged out with their day optic and put an EFR, or whether they got an AR with a quad rail, and they ask about throwing on a PVS 30. So I run them through the ringer on, you got to have some kind of either artificial light or ambient light source to make it work. Otherwise you're not going to be real happy about it. And then, they go, well, what about a thermal clip on? Is there any thermals? Then I've even had a couple guys interested in that UTCX too, but there's the Snipe IR, I think Pulsar offers one. What's your guys' take for everybody out there that would like to set their day rig up and utilize some kind of a thermal or night vision clip-on device? And I tell them personally from what we do, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but I tell them with what we do, we rig our rifles up to be application specific, like everything. We have a rifle, it's got a designated thermal or designated night vision unit, and that's how it stays. But a lot of guys, you got to look at their perspective. They can't afford it. So what's your take on that?
I think I can take this one. You get a lot of people asking about clip-ons. It's usually kind of the first thing that people think of. It just seems like the ideal thing. I just have this clip-on that I just put in front of my day scope and change my day rig into a night rig. I guess there's a lot of different factors in why that sounds appealing initially, but there's a lot of reasons why for most people that's not going to be the solution that they're looking for. So the first thing is one misconception is that a clip-on is going to be cheaper, which 100% is not going to be cheaper to run a clip-on than a dedicated optic, either night vision or thermal related, and especially thermal. So you're not going to save money on a thermal clip-on. They're going to be more expensive, all else being equal. And then specifically with thermal clip-ons, it's going to be even more of a difference in price in terms of what your money gets you in terms of a thermal clip-on. So a lot of people think, well, I get this thermal clip-on and I'm going to use it with my 5 to 25 night force. And the reality is that the thermal clip-ons that are on the market, especially the ones that are affordable, aren't designed to be used with that much magnification. So the thermals that are even in the affordable range are going to be designed for low power optics, like a fixed low power optic, like an ACOG 4X or a low power variable scope. So basically a 1 to 4, 1 to 6, 1 to 8. And ideally, to get a good image, you're going to have to stay pretty much in the 2 to 3X magnification range. So that pretty much disqualifies most day optics that people are intending to use with those, like the coyote rigs or the long range hunting rigs that people want to use them with. It's just not going to work with most clip-ons. And so you have exceptions like the Trijicon UTC 12 micron, which is an excellent optic and will basically do all those things that people want them to do. But one, it's a military unit. It's not currently available. We got some a while back. I think we got a handful of units when there's a military contract overrun. But even then, even if you find them and they're available, they're going to be $20,000 plus, which is outside of most people's budget. So that pretty much rules out clip-ons, thermal clip-ons for most people. And the ones that are on the market are going to be designed for lower magnification day optics. The image quality is going to be not so great. You're not going to have a lot of mounting options as far as mounting them in front of a day optic. Some of them require like a coupling attachment to attach it to the bell of a day scope, and you're going to have issues with that, with those moving around. You're also going to have other issues like point of impact shift with a clip-on, and image quality issues, field of view issues. So there's just a host of issues that you're going to run into with clip-ons, especially thermal clip-ons. So generally, we recommend that people go with a dedicated thermal scope, and a lot of the times the dedicated thermal scope is going to meet the needs of most people. Like some people want to clip on because they want to switch it from rifle to rifle. Well, most dedicated scopes on the market right now allow you to store different presets, so you can save a 0 for 3 different guns, sometimes more, or different loads, either subsonic, supersonic, or suppressed, unsuppressed. So that gives you the versatility that a lot of people are looking for when they're looking for a clip-on. Most quality thermal scopes these days have quality quick detach return to 0 mounts, so that resolves a lot of issues that people have in terms of wanting a day rig and a night rig. If you can get a quality return to 0 scope mount for your day scope and a quality return to 0 mount for your thermal, then it's definitely possible to switch from one rig to another that way. So that resolves a lot of issues that people have and reasons why people are looking for clip-ons.
That's a good answer.
I concur.
What do you guys have? What can you chat for? Are you getting close to cutoff time, or you got about 10 minutes, or what are you at?
I got a roll. I'm sitting here at Mr. Robinson's house, and they're waiting on me.
Dude,
Chris, come on.
But
If you came up here,
Rich,
I have fun.
dial
I have
back in.
fun.
Rich,
Yeah.
Rich, you can.
I gave my kids an iPad and told them to go find their own meal.
Threw some
so
Cheerios
they're
on the
good.
floor.
Better than mine, anyways. Yeah.
Okay,
All
cool.
right.
Hell yeah, yeah, Tyler. Thanks for taking
Yeah.
the time. If you don't care, we'll just keep Rich on and we'll freaking hammer it out.
Okay, I think I'm on a 3-way call with Tyler, so I might have to call back in.
Oh, you will. Okay. Yeah, do that, dude. We'll do you, for like another 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm hanging
that's fine.
up.
All right,
That's
cool.
fine.
Tyler, just call my or
I'm
Rich, just call my cell.
gonna go kill
Okay.
something.
Tyler,
All
good
right.
luck, dude. Keep
Thanks,
let
Tyler.
me know how it goes. Thanks, buddy. We'll do another one soon.
Later.
It's gonna go
Rich,
smash,
Rich is gonna call back in.
dude. Rich knows his shit.
Well, yeah,
Maybe we should have just called Rich.
yeah. We should have just left Tyler out of this. He's calling your house.
No, I bet you not.
Oh,
He doesn't. I don't think he knows what my house number is.
well, here, I'll tell him.
I could call him too. Dude, Recon 3 is smoking it out.
I know my watch is going crazy.
I need to talk to. I should have wrote a bunch of questions down because I was gonna ask him about. There's a few more things I want to ask him about, like vehicle mounted thermals. Don't let me forget that. I want to ask Rich about it.
The Rove?
Yes. Rich, what's up, dude? Can you hear me?
Hey, James.
Cool, dude. Hey, before I forget, I was going to ask you about vehicle-mounted thermals. What are some of the options that you have with the Rover? Explain to us that setup real quick.
Okay. Well, the Rover, we initially offered it in a 19 millimeter, which gives you a nice wide field of view. I think it's a little bit less than 1X. And then a 35 millimeter version.
Hey,
which is,
what's the price point on each? Just so guys know, like the 19 millimeter, what are you at?
19 millimeters, 8,000. And then the 35 millimeter is 9,000. And then we have a dual unit also that's a 35 millimeter wide field of view 640, and then 100 millimeter really high magnification 320 sensor. So it's got two different sensors in it. We're in the middle of kind of transitioning from a Mark 1 Rover to a Mark 2. So the Mark 2 is going to go from a 640 17 micron to a 640 12 micron, and the first unit that we're going to offer is going to be a 19 millimeter 640 12 micron. So it'll be equivalent to the 35 millimeter Mark 1.
So are those in what are those for if a guy wants to get into one of those? We ran one for a year. Do you use one of those quite a bit when you're out hunting pigs?
Yeah, I use the Rover every night. Yeah, I mean that.
How do you? What's the best way to use it for you? Do you just kind of angle it at a 45 and scan along roadways, or what do you? How do you set it up?
I mostly have it pointed straight ahead because for me, hunting from a vehicle and covering a lot of ground, that's the area that I can't see with thermal. So it's basically the windshield area. So that's usually where I have it, and then I'm scanning out of the window with my helmet mounted thermal.
And what are you looking at cost wise? Or sorry, the wait time to have those fabricated? Do you guys have those in stock, or you guys building them, or?
We're building them as fast as we can. We got a pretty hefty lead time right now. We've got a lot of orders that we're still scrambling to fill. I think right now ETA on those, if you ordered now, is around February 2021.
That ain't too bad then.
It's not bad. It's not too bad. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll be able to start cranking them out in higher quantities. Right now, it's just it's Tyler and Anthony building them, so they're trying to build them as fast as they can, but having trouble keeping up. And also, this year it's been a struggle just to get components and everything for it.
Have you seen demand demand slow down, or have you seen demand increase this year?
This year, demand is way up, and I think that's been the case in pretty much anything outdoor related, hunting related, shooting related, home improvement related. There's certain industries that have just seen a huge increase in demand, and ours is one of them.
What about like UAVs? What are your thoughts on those drones, using those with thermal? You do that much or not?
Yeah, we've dabbled in drones previously, but up until recently, the cost of having a full thermal drone setup has been pretty high. I mean, you're talking about $20,000 retail for a full turnkey drone setup with a industrial drone and a gimbal and all that. There's a new model that's out that I think is going to be really, really popular. It's the Autel Evo 2 Dual, and that's, I think, $10,000 retail. Plus, another one of the biggest drawbacks with the previous drones is just the sheer size of those things. I mean, if you're going out hunting, that drone is going to take up the entire back seat of a truck, whereas the new drone is about the same size as a DJI Mavic, and it's got the thermal and everything integrated with a 8K video camera, all for $10,000. So those are going to make things a lot. It's going to make them a lot more affordable for people and a lot more usable for most people in their applications. So,
have you used one before?
Yeah, I've been using the Autel Evo, and I mean, it's been amazing.
And so, are you using that to get past a lot of legwork and a lot of driving? Do you go into like heavily wooded areas with those and float them up and locate basically herds of pigs?
Yeah, it's really made things more efficient for us, especially on certain properties. Some properties you're going to have cattle and other animals where it's going to be harder to distinguish between those animals and pigs from the heights that you need to fly. Like if you fly too low, trying to ID the animals, then you're going to spook them. But if you're too high, you're going to have a hard time distinguishing between like a cow and a pig, unless it's a big group of pigs and they're all running around. So certain properties, it's not going to be a huge benefit, but other properties, I mean, it's just insanely helpful. If it's just agricultural fields and stuff like that, areas that aren't so wooded, I mean, you can fly basically straight up and just spin the drone around and see exactly where the pigs are within seconds. I mean, it saves you a ton of time having to drive around the scan, especially if you have properties that have changes in elevation, dips and hills and stuff like that, where if you're on the ground looking, you may not see a group of animals that's pretty close to you just because of elevation changes.
That's being efficient too. I mean, that's just so much less driving around footprint. I mean, I can see that being a necessity. Oh
yeah, big time. And especially properties that have a lot of cross fencing and gates and stuff. If you can scan an entire property without having to open a single gate, I mean, that's killer.
So dude, down there, what are you getting into pig wise? I mean, we have no idea the scenario that you guys are in with the hog situation, other than what we see on YouTube or, TV shows. Up here, same thing with what we're doing, other than knowing what we do or how we do it with the videos that we send you, the footage that we send you. Down there, how hard is it to get into some of those ranches? Do you build relationships with some of those ranchers? Or do you guys find, guys that hire you to come out, or how do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just something that me and some friends have built up over time just through word of mouth. So, you help one landowner with a pig problem, and then, maybe their neighbor or a friend from church or somebody they know or a family member or a coworker. They talk to somebody else who has a pig problem, and then they refer our contact information to them, and so we get access to that property, and kind of just snowballs from there. It took a while to build up like a critical mass of properties where we'd have places to hunt. But the good thing about hog hunting in Texas is, as long as landowners trust you and they feel like you're going to be effective, then they're more than happy to let you go and shoot pigs on their property.
Do you guys see like the hog numbers up from year to year or down for, say, like up here, coyotes, we might kill X amount one year and then the next year it's tougher than hell to kill one. But do you guys see that down there with hogs?
Down here with hogs overall, it seems like it's going up and up exponentially every year. On a lot of the properties that we hunt, the numbers have gone down significantly. Like, it's awesome when we get a new property that we haven't hunted before. There's hogs everywhere, but after a few weeks or a few months of hitting it pretty hard, the populations really go down, and we've seen some properties, even really large properties, where the numbers just haven't come back up. But it depends. I mean, depends what the food source is and where it is and everything like that. But yeah, overall the numbers are going up. We're killing more and more every year, and I don't know if that's a factor of more pigs or us just being more efficient, or a little bit of both. It's probably a little bit of both.
So what are you seeing for an average, if you could just guesstimate on a yearly average, from where you live to how far you drive and hunt every, throughout the year, every week or every other day that you go out? What's your radius, your kill radius, how far you go out and get into these?
I'm mostly staying in East Texas, and I'm driving probably farther than I used to, just because some of that property up there by the Red River, kind of bordering Oklahoma or even in southern Oklahoma, all that cropland, there's just so many pigs out there that it's worth it to make a drive up there. And so I'm going once or twice a week and driving anywhere from like an hour and a half to 2 hours to one way to get where I'm going to hunt.
And then what do you do? I mean, do you sleep in your vehicle, or do you got a buddy that's got a place up there, or what?
No, we just,
night?
Me personally, I run up there on weeknights because it's less disruptive on family time. So I just usually wait till the kids go to bed, and I get in my truck and make a run up there, and we hunt all night and just try to make it back before 8 o'clock so I can be here at my desk answering calls and emails for night vision stuff.
We call that vampire mode.
We're gonna get a bunch of T-shirts made called Vampire Mode.
I like it.
That's pretty cool, dude.
Yeah, it is.
That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it's a grind, but man, it's worth it, and it doesn't. I don't have to have too much sleep to talk to people about night vision. I can kind of do that almost at my sleep, so it works out pretty well.
That's pretty solid, dude. So what who do you usually hunt with? You don't usually go solo. Who do you take with?
I usually go with at least one person. I like hunting solo. It's pretty fun. I mean, it's just nice because I got a lot of gear and stuff that I like to test out, and I always like to mess around with filming stuff and getting unique footage. So when I'm with myself, I can kind of mess around with stuff like that without annoying other people.
Yeah.
But most of the time recently, I'm hunting with at least a buddy. My buddy Estienne, he's a farmer up there on some of the properties that we hunt up there, or some other friends. But I mean, I'd rather hunt with just one or two other people, because it starts getting crowded in that little Tacoma if you try to stack four people in there plus gear.
What are you saying your body count is on average weekly, or just an average, a night that you go out, the average night that you go out throughout the year? How many are you stacking up?
This year, especially lately, we've been killing between 20 and 30 every time we go out.
And then what do you do with them? I mean, you
stack them, man.
Yeah. If you follow our social media, you see, we'll pile them up and take a picture.
Yeah.
Lately, we haven't even been doing that. We just shoot them and we walk up to them and take a little picture and put it on our Instagram stories and then move on.
Do you ever shoot coyotes off them then, or no? Or will a coyote eat one?
Yeah, the coyotes will eat them. We don't do that too much. If it's really convenient for us, we'll shoot a coyote. Like if we see one, we can just pop one out of the window of the truck or just hop out real quick and shoot one. We will, but I'm too ADHD to sit around and call coyotes or sit on a bait pile.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that's funny. We'd do the same damn thing.
Yeah.
It would be we're too ADHD to freaking sit and wait for a cat to come in. So we're there for 15 minutes as soon as we freaking do our job, then we're loading up and heading out. So I could see that.
Yeah, it's more fun. I mean, it feels more like hunting if you're on the move.
Yeah.
And are you filming every night that you're hunting then?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, it varies in terms of the quality. Sometimes I like to at least get some footage like through the scope. And if I can, I'll try to get some third person footage. But a lot of times, I mean, most of the time I'm setting up a filming rig on a tripod and so I'm carrying that plus my rifle and my shooting tripod when I stalk in on a group of pigs, and I'll try to set up the filming tripod and point it in the right direction and hope that it catches something cool.
Yeah.
And it works.
What's your guys' like your
doesn't work out other times.
Yeah. What's like your humidity down there? I know like up here when it's way cold, our contrast, our footage is super good. How is that for you guys down there through your thermals?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, in the summer, the humidity is super high.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, cool, crisp nights are pretty nice. And we get some good footage. I'd say, sometimes I'd say it's 50-50.
Right.
Sometimes we have nice clear nights. Sometimes we have pretty humid, nasty nights.
Yeah.
So, dude, if you're stacking that many and you're going out and you're being able to go through numerous pieces of equipment, I mean, obviously with what you do, you've got hands on an ass load of different stuff, and you can easily determine what is going to work good for you, what you like versus what's not. What's your setup, your rig on foot? Like, I'm not saying on the vehicle with a rover or a drone, take that stuff out. When you go out on foot, what do you have on your head and what do you have on your rifle? What do you have in your pocket or on your pack regarding any kind of thermal or night vision that you use?
Well, me personally, I have the Skeet IR on my helmet, and I'd say having a helmet mounted thermal unit is pretty essential for me. Like I feel handicapped without a helmet mounted thermal unit.
I think a helmet mounted thermal here has doubled our kills.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's big time useful. So I mean, Skeet IR. If you can't get a Skeet IR, get something else like the IRA MH25, something like that. A helmet mounted thermal is going to increase your effectiveness a ton. The weapon scope that I have on my rifle, currently I have a Pulsar Thermion XG50 and an XP50. Honestly, like I could probably use any one of a number of thermal scopes and have pretty much the same performance. A lot of them you're going to be able to kill with all of them. I use the Pulsars just because it's easy. It's just easy to record with them, and it's nice to have rechargeable batteries. So with as much as I hunt, I don't want to have anything that I have to use off the shelf batteries with, and I want to have something that's easy to record with and has decent video quality. So that's kind of a unique requirement that I have. But if I didn't have those requirements, I mean, there's probably any one of a number of scopes that I could use.
Yeah, you're really, really speaking exactly of what we do and how we do it. It's just when we were using those Trijicon units, we got freaking an overwhelming amount of guys that wanted to know how the hell we were recording and getting that footage. And I'm like, you don't even want to know. You don't. If you knew, you would not do it just because it's a shit show, dude. But I mean, we got real efficient with it. But you're powering 2 units with a power core. We were running a separate editing program on the camera while we went. If we could get something on that level that would have onboard recording, would completely change our game, just completely.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's what I'm waiting for. That's what I'm hoping will be the next progression. If the resolution of the sensors is kind of at a plateau, and some of these performance things are at a plateau, that hopefully the manufacturers will at least catch up in terms of features and recording capability and stuff like that. Because for a lot of people, that's going to be really important. I mean, even if you're not producing a TV show or doing a YouTube channel or running a big social media page or something like that, it's nice to have good quality footage to show your friends, review what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. Whether you pulled a shot or something's off with your rifle. So stuff like that, it's just nice to have. And some of those features, I think that's where a lot of the manufacturers have fallen short up until now and still now, is that none of those scopes have all the features that you'd really want, or at least if they have the features, there's always something missing. So I'm hoping something's on the horizon that just has everything. I mean, that may be unrealistic, but it would be nice.
So do you want to say something?
Yeah. What's your guys' turnaround rate for, say, how often is somebody upgrading a system? A thermal?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't change much. I find something that works for me and I just stick with it.
Right.
Unless we need to get footage with a different scope or something like that. Then I'll
as far
switch.
as like your customers, I mean, does a guy trade it in, or does he buy something new every 2 years, or how's that? What do you see on that?
Oh man, that's totally up to the individual. And I mean, everybody knows people like that. Some people will upgrade, just like people upgrade their phone. I mean, they have to have the latest thing. They'll keep a scope for 2 weeks and they'll sell it off, and they'll buy the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
So do you guys take trade-ins then, or no?
We don't. I mean,
Gotcha.
We're just not set up for it. I mean, we're there's only a few of us, and it's just not efficient to buy and sell used stuff. So we generally don't. But yeah, it depends. I mean, a lot of people turn over gear like crazy. A lot of people stick with stuff a long time. Some people will do it based on warranty. They'll, if they know their warranty is about to be up, they'll sell it like 6 months or a year before their warranty is up and switch to something else, which makes sense, especially if you have something that's expensive.
Yeah.
So it just depends. But I mean, a lot of these scopes, I mean, the Trijicon scopes, it's not like they're going obsolete. The Trijicon scopes are still kind of on the top in terms of performance, and those have been out for 5 years now. So yeah, I mean, if you wanted to hold on to a scope, you definitely could.
So you said another thing that's really close to what we do. And when we went, we were fortunate to play college sports, and that is one of the things that we would do religiously is watch film for anything, even for track. When you're doing starts, you would watch that. And a lot of people overlook the filming aspect. When we film, even during the day, we relate that back to what we do, because you can tell fundamentals. There's a lot of times where you're watching that animal come in, or like you said, if you're filming through the scope at night, you can see, what's going on, how, what you did wrong, what's working, what do you, real quick before I forget, the XG, or not even that, the thermions. I agree 100% with what I like the trails because of the fact that it has one battery that you can remove it and replace it with your eyes closed. And up here where we are, where it's cold, being able to have another, a 10 or 20 hour pack in your pocket to be able to put in. What are you seeing on those thermions for somebody that was up here in the cold? And I'd say, imagine what you're seeing down there to 0 degrees up here. How much more beneficial would it be for us to run, say, a trail versus a thermion unit? Just looking at
it's hard to say because I don't have the personal experience with it, and that's the question I get pretty often on the Thermion is about battery life and what's the total runtime. Down here, I don't know what the actual runtime is because I'm usually putting my scope on standby or turning it off when I'm not looking through it, and I don't ever really have an issue with it not lasting the entire night.
Your ambient temps, what, on average 40s? 30s?
Yeah, I mean, the lowest this past week got down into the 30s, but yeah, most of the time, probably 40s or 50s.
Even when we're shutting that unit or putting it to sleep, I should say, when that unit's exposed for 45 minutes or an hour and it's 0 out and they're starting to accumulate frost on that body, the housing of that thermal, that conducts to that battery, and it takes the life out of it freaking quick. So I was just, most of the guys that asked me about, well, what about the Thermion? I automatically say, dude, I can imagine, I don't know, because, I don't know, but I could imagine that once those batteries get cold, it's going to be a little bit tougher to swap them out. And I would think that they would probably, I don't know. I just thought I'd ask you and kind of see what you thought.
Yeah, if you're concerned about battery life, the Trail is going to be a better option than the Thermion. If you're willing to run an external pack, you can run an external pack on the Thermion and power it through the micro USB port. One thing that I've found to be helpful is I have a little magnetic plug for it. So you keep the little plug in the micro USB port, and then the cable has a magnet on it also, and you can just pop that on there or pop it off as needed.
Oh, that's
charge it or run it that way.
Yeah,
that way you don't have to. Yeah, that way you don't have to worry about tearing up the port. And I mean, theoretically, you could buy several spare APS-3 batteries, the larger capacity batteries for the Thermion, and do it that way. I don't know personally how well they'll do in the cold or what type of runtimes that you'll get in the cold, since I don't hunt in those conditions. So maybe that's something we need to get y'all a scope so you can do some experiments with it. But
we could let it set out.
The batteries are easy to switch out in the Thermion. I'd say as easy or easier than the Trail, but the capacity is just not as high for those batteries. It's basically a proprietary 18650 battery is what it's using.
Gotcha.
Speaking of magnet, do you guys have any magnetic IR pods?
Magnetic?
Just an IR pod that would magnetize onto a bumper or anything like that?
For infrared for the PVS 14, I don't want to hardwire, or I don't want to drill holes and shit yet. So would like to magnetize.
Like an illuminator?
Yeah.
We don't have anything like that, but yeah, that's something to consider.
Yeah, gotcha.
Like a magnetic mount.
A guy could just get those nasty magnets and JB welded onto a pod or something,
or a flashlight, or
Yeah.
I'd imagine there's a commercial solution for those, because I mean, although not a whole lot of people are using the IR lights, there's probably tons of people who are using white light cubes and light bars and stuff like that who have already thought about that. So right. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a commercial solution.
Cool, dude. Well, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we can touch. Is there anything on your end that you're thinking that I just kind of wanted to talk to you guys about details and thermal, the technical aspects and night vision as well, just so guys, give them some information. And I think we covered everything pretty damn thoroughly.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's different. I would say a lot of stuff that you read online, take it with a grain of salt. There's going to be some truth to it, but also opinions get really extreme online, and people get bogged down in some of these minute details that don't matter too much. Like a lot of the gear that's available, like all the stuff that we sell, it's quality gear. It's not going to make a huge difference what you buy. It's going to be, just look at preferences and features and your budget and kind of what's important to you in making that decision. Because, whether you buy a Pulsar or you buy a Trijicon or you buy an Envision, they're all going to do the job. They're all going to work for you. There's just going to be some minor differences between them. So it's not a life or death decision. It's going to be, a lot of it's going to be based on preference. But so, I mean, trying it out's one of the best ways to figure out what works for you and what doesn't. So use the rental program if you don't know anybody who has a thermal that you can look through or night vision that you can look through, or give us a call and we can answer all your questions. We've used all the gear. We'll shoot you straight. I'll tell you, whether you need to spend the money or you don't need to spend the money. We're not gonna pressure you to buy something more expensive than you need to, or buy something that is not really gonna fit your needs. So
yeah, guys,
give us a call.
Yeah, what's you
email.
guys' social media stuff? What's your information? How does a guy
maybe you should
check you out?
You should post. You should be asking us so you exploit our stuff instead.
You can find us pretty easy. Google ultimatenightvision.com is our website. YouTube's under Ultimate Night Vision. Facebook and Instagram are also Ultimate Night Vision.
And you are go ahead.
We're on all the major tubes.
You're the mastermind behind the YouTube channel.
I do spend a lot of time on the YouTube and social media.
I mean, primarily you are the one that runs the Ultimate Night Vision YouTube channel, right? I mean, pretty much 90%.
That's true.
Yeah. So
yeah,
how's that going real quick? I mean, you guys are smashing. What's your guys' subscriber base right now about?
We are almost up to 700,000 on YouTube.
Oh, dude, I was going to say, are you at 500,000? Oh, jeez.
What do you guys get a day?
Views or subscribers.
Right.
Your subscribers. What does it go? How much you get in a day?
I don't know. It ebbs and flows. I think right now I haven't posted a video since beginning of September.
Really?
But I think we're getting around 300 or 400 subscribers a day.
Wow.
And like what do you normally try and put up as far as footage on YouTube a day or a week or a month?
I had been uploading about once a month, but it's just been so busy this year. I haven't had time to really edit stuff, so I haven't really posted anything since September because we've just been too busy work-wise. I feel guilty if I'm not answering phone calls and emails, and I'm posting on social media. So
that's cool, dude. That's awesome.
I got a lot of footage kind of stored up, and so as soon as we get some downtime, work-wise, yeah, I'll be putting up a lot of content.
Right.
What on your, so what are you seeing on the YouTube channel regarding, here's what I was going to ask. When do you get your plaques? You get one at 100,000 and do you get one at 500,000?
You get one at 100,000 and one at 1 million.
Jeez, you're going to get both of them fuckers, dude. Is Tyler letting you have them? He better let you have them and hang them up.
Yeah, I have the 100,000 one hanging on my wall. My daughter dropped it on the driveway the day that I got it, so it's got a little ding in it, but it's up on my wall.
That's pretty damn
added character, a little character to it. No big deal.
That's cool.
I'm looking forward to getting that $1 million or the 1 million subscriber plaque.
That is crazy.
Accomplishment.
That is just, dude, that's a feat that 99.9% of people on this earth will never even be a part of. That's cool as shit.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a struggle, but it's rewarding. I mean, it's a lot of work, especially in the political environment and kind of who runs social media and the bias that they have against us.
Just imagine, like you said,
in 2A.
Yeah, exactly. Look at if you could break down the algorithm and see how much it's against or not for, or trying to unpromote anything that guys like you put up. Imagine if it was equal across the board, what you would have.
It'd be amazing.
You would have 1 million subscribers probably a couple years ago.
Oh yeah, y'all too. I mean, the age restrictions and demonetizations are the biggest things. I mean, those are huge hurdles.
Hey, let's do this. I'm at an hour, dude. Let's do another podcast with you if you don't care, and do one on that. Let's just do a podcast on strictly like social media and just sit down, because you know way more than I do. I try to get on and look at my, the analytics and how many views I'm getting, where they're coming from. But I don't break that stuff down to the level of like you, how well you know it. I don't know if it's going to benefit me that much because of the, we only have a measly 50,000 subscribers compared to what you guys have going on. And if I can learn something from you or the guys that are out there listening to us, that would be an awesome podcast, dude. If you wouldn't mind, let's do that.
Oh yeah. I'm totally on board with that.
Cool.
That's like my thing. I love all that stuff. I mean, it's a struggle, but it's also kind of like a fun game to play. It's you're just playing a game.
Absolutely. And then what's your thoughts on camera equipment? I mean, do you follow a lot of stuff like on like the newer cameras? Like I know your stuff on shutter speed on a fast lens, your aperture 1.4, 2 point, whatever you're running at night. Do you get off on a lot of that stuff when you record, like kind of how we do during the daytime stuff with our camera models, and even say your editing setup, your tower, your processor, how much hard drive space you have? Do you have a particular setup regarding that a guy could maybe do part of a podcast with also, if we went into that?
Man, I'm all about that. That's
okay.
Definitely stuff that I'm interested in. I don't have like the most sophisticated setup, but I mean, I'm sure we have the same or similar issues that we run into, like as far as just space. Like
yes.
I'm
Yep.
trying to figure out a good solution for workflow and having enough hard drive space to archive files and just be able to do stuff efficiently. Because I mean, if you're shooting 4K video or 4K 60 or even 4K 30, anything like that, I mean, you're going to fill up your computer drive really quickly, and then you got to have an external drive solution where you can't have a stack of 20 external hard drives. So I started looking at the network attached storage and getting a 10 gigabit home network and stuff like that. So
like a NAS box and getting into that. I mean, I've looked at some of that shit and there's some good stuff. I've got probably 1 to 4 terabyte externals that I have labeled in the past few years. And last year we really kind of tried to start gravitating towards 4K, and I could tell from the amount of memory that it took up to what you have to do to edit that. I'm not regretting it, but there is definitely a massive slowdown there, and there's a bottleneck in that. And if you don't fix it, you're going to be freaking slowed way down.
Oh yeah. Are you using Premiere?
Yeah, I am. I'm on the cloud. I've got Premiere. So I do a lot of Lightroom, a little bit of Photoshop, and primarily Premiere for the video all Premiere for the video editing. But
I try to use Premiere, and it was just, I don't know. It's just, I've been using Final Cut for so long that Premiere was just, I could not get with it. And
dude, let's
Premiere doesn't run well on Mac.
Okay, well let's talk about that, because I started with Vegas Pro, but when I started doing it, and then I wasn't working with a graphics card, so I swapped over to Premiere Pro, and I haven't looked back. But it's kind of a personal preference. Let's just knock out. I'll write down a whole bunch of talking points, and I'll do the same thing, and let's do a podcast on that, dude. On the YouTube thing, everything from analytics to the algorithm that you think, how you set yours up for success, because obviously you're successful in what you're doing. If you have 750,000 YouTube subscribers and you're going to have 1 million soon, that's freaking awesome, dude.
I could talk forever on that sort of thing.
Let's do that. We'll knock out an 1.5-hour podcast. Let's try and do that maybe even before Christmas. That would be an awesome one before Christmas. If you don't, I'll just shoot you a text and maybe this week write some information down. Let's do that, because I've had guys that have wanted us to do a podcast on the cameras, and we could run through lenses, kill cameras, how we record at night, what we were doing, and then, the storage, and then even the towers, the computers, the internals of what we're running, the RAM, the amount of RAM, the graphics cards, the processors, everything in our towers, to the displays and the screens, all that. Let's do it, dude.
Okay.
Cool.
I'm in.
Hey, so put a plug, you ultimatenightvision.com. Everybody knows what you do. You guys have Ultimate Night Vision on YouTube, Ultimate Night Vision on Instagram, Facebook. You guys just put up for those of you guys that are listening to us, we were just watching it tonight. Keith and I were, you guys just smashing, running over bodies, doing just crushing pigs. That video is going to hit 1 million. So you just posted that on Facebook.
Uh-huh.
And it's nowhere else. It's on Facebook with about 1 million views. You didn't put that on YouTube. You didn't put that on Instagram. Well, it is on Instagram, but it's.
I put it on Instagram. It got a really good response for Instagram for us. I think it had we just don't get that much reach on Instagram, but I think it got 7,000 shares, which is
wow. On Instagram it did.
It was the analytics are odd. It got 7,000 shares, but I think we only got maybe, let's see the insights. 7,600 shares, and we only got 33 followers off of it.
That's not even right.
So I don't know what's going on with Instagram, but
same thing.
On Instagram's kind of been the worst. Facebook was pretty bad, but we've been getting some traction lately on Facebook, so I've been spending a little more time on it. But
really?
we're almost, that video's got 1 million views on Facebook, and then we're pretty close to 100,000 followers on Facebook now.
Wow. I haven't even been looking at that. I have not even been checking your guys'. That's good for you, man, for doing that. That's cool as shit.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
For a while when they did the sensitive content thing, everything was basically getting flagged as sensitive content, and we got almost zero reach. It's kind of loosened up a little bit. Recently our videos they've been getting a little bit of traction. So I guess they made some changes, or we've been flying under the radar for a while and haven't had a bunch of PETA people reporting us.
Cool, dude.
Not sure.
Good for you guys, man. That's awesome to hear. We definitely are going to do a YouTube, a social media and a camera podcast, editing, all that. We're going to write it down. We're going to go into detail on how you set your, there's no reason to have secrets on it. 99% of people out there that even do what you do and do what you do and try to do it on social media are never going to equate to what you've got. So you might as well help them out. Might as well tell them, how you do it.
It doesn't hurt us for other people to grow. It only helps if other people grow.
Exactly.
And I will talk people's ear off about everything I know about YouTube until you want me to stop. So
yeah, dude, absolutely. And this way, maybe we can reach a few thousand people instead of having to, take time out of your day to talk to guys about that. Cause there's guys that want to talk to us about it, but we're nothing we're 100th of what you guys are. That's cool. And that's what our goal is here, man. Talk to guys like you that are, I'd call you a subject matter expert on that. How the hell could you not? So I'd agree.
I'd agree. There's no reason why y'all shouldn't be up there. We got the majority of our views off of y'all's content. So it makes, it's obvious that people want that content.
Well, you're the one that put it, you put it together, dude. We just got the frostbite. That's cool. That's awesome to be, though. That makes us feel good. That's awesome that you guys are a part of that. And if we could have, got some cool stuff along the way that you guys are using, awesome. It's cool. Hopefully our plan is this year, it's been a shit show year, man. So it's bent everybody over. So our goal is to bend her ass over before she goes out at the end of the year. That's what we're going to try to do.
Well, looking forward to it.
Awesome, Rich. Hey, man, I appreciate it. I'm glad you are definitely very knowledgeable about all the stuff that we're talking about. And if I get hit up from guys that have questions, I'm just going to start writing them down. And I think the easiest thing to do would be to maybe knock out another podcast, because then saves everybody, a little bit of breath. Let guys listen to it, talk for an hour, go into detail on stuff, and point them in this direction. Say, here you go, man.
That'd be good.
Cool, dude. I appreciate it, Rich. You take care down there, and let's plan on that on the YouTube podcast. Let's do that. I would enjoy that a lot, and I think a lot of other guys out there would too. That'd be cool.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Thanks for your time, sir.
All right. Thanks for having me on. Y'all have a good one.
Yep. Kill all those pigs down there, buddy.
Will do.
Later.
Bye.
And that's cool.
And Rich knows his shit.
Yeah, he does. Man, he hammers. That's what I wanted to get on, because I wanted to talk to guys about the night vision, the thermal, how, you know, the details on everything so that guys had an idea, so that guys knew, because you deserve to know at least. There's guys that we talk like, dude, you know what 640 is versus a 384 or the 3 what? No,
They don't know.
I'm like, do you care? And they're like, some of them don't, but I'm like, you probably should.
If they knew, they would. I mean, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And most of the guys just say like, hey, dude, I've got this much money. This is what I want to get.
Yeah.
And so when you do that, if you talk to us or you talk to Rich, you're going to get put into a unit that you are not going to be disappointed in. And the deal with us is, what we like to do is we use the equipment and we tell you what we think about it. Or you go somewhere else, like I said, you go to some of these big retailers that just sell the shit, you're going to go talk to some dude that's going to blow 100% smoke right up your ass.
And never have ran.
Never have used
probably
it.
Never looked through it.
Maybe went out to the parking lot and pulled it out of the box.
Or you're giving them too much credit.
Probably.
You know.
And it's nothing against that, but that is what you get.
Yeah.
You know,
but that's just a big retail store.
That's what they
way
do.
They do it. Yeah.
Exactly. You go to a gun store there, and if you're looking for details about a gun, probably don't go talk to the guy behind the counter.
Yeah.
Because he thinks he knows more than he does.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're that way too. That's why we get guys like Rich on, or
that's
Tyler.
the whole reason for Rich and Tyler tonight.
That's the whole reason for our podcast, to get subject matter experts on that know more about, like the shit Richard rattled off. That's what we want you guys to hear. So if we say something wrong, you can call us out.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That was a good one. So what I think we are going to do, you and I talked about this, and that is not blinking at me yet.
I was going to say,
that one will hammer for all, that thing's plugged in. It'll go for 400 minutes. I've got 2 memory cards. That'll go for 400 minutes, which we're not going to, but we're at an hour 45. Let's kind of give a little bit of a game plan out here, because right now we're in a shit show, doing an add-on for my parents. We need to transition to night probably a little bit earlier this year, because that's going to be one of our,
just because our night last year was 0, we had none.
But we're also freaking tied up a lot during the day with what we're doing right now. So we need to start stacking bodies.
Yeah.
We need to. We just took 20 of them to the guy last night. You had them.
And that was a week's worth day footage.
Yeah.
Which we did early before deer season.
A week before deer season.
And a month before we usually call.
Usually we're just now starting right now. But we'll get to it. But what I think, like you said, what we're going to do here, and we're going to give you a little bit of a teaser. We're going to go into the next podcast. Well, depends on what Rich is. One of the podcasts.
There might be 2 more before Christmas podcasts.
Possibly 3.
Right.
Because Les.
Yep.
We might have a pretty cool one with that. He said to me that he might come Thursday. I don't know if he's going to come or be on the phone.
Oh, he might come out.
He might come. I don't
Okay.
know. I need to
Gotcha.
ask. He might stop out. We're going to go over the kill box, and we're going to do,
which that's been a long time coming, man. That's just been,
we were going to do it last year, and then last year turned into a complete shit show.
Yeah.
Not regarding the kills that we got there, but just with everything. You know how it goes. We're going to give that place every bit of credit where credit is due. But what I kind of want to do is do that for a predecessor to the kill box video that we're going to have coming.
well, like you said the other day, we're going to kill 50 plus coyotes out of the kill box this year.
And we kill 50 out of there every year.
I know.
That's an average. So that one year we killed more than that.
Yeah.
And I think that what we're seeing right now, if we can
7 or 8 a night,
if we can shoot straight, we're gonna exceed that.
Yep.
Especially with the movement we're seeing this early.
Right. That's what I mean.
And with the temperatures being what they are,
which sucks.
Terrible. 60 degrees today.
Yeah.
I mean,
what'd you say? It's supposed to be 70 this week sometime?
Yeah, like upper 60s tomorrow. And then, if we could get a regular temperature where we're in the 30s during the day and in the teens at night, it'll turn on. It will completely turn on. And it's good right now, but we're going to keep on rolling with the day footage. But like I said, what we want to do is, you kind of heard at the end of this convo with Rich about doing maybe a YouTube deal, but what our plan is to do a kill box podcast and tell you guys.
And you got some kill box YouTube videos coming out, it's pretty much
be
kind of the same time, I guess.
Yep. we're going to probably release that
Yep.
shortly after, maybe a week, 2 weeks, depends on how everything goes, maybe a month after the podcast.
Yep.
Just give you guys a little bit of a teaser of what the kill box is, how we use it, how we meticulously set it up to our advantage.
How long have we been killing out of there? 4 years?
Well, we've been doing it longer than that,
I
but
mean,
we
as far
didn't
as filming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All of our stuff.
Yeah, filming. Because we've been doing it for longer than that,
Right.
but regarding filming, yeah, probably 4 to 5 years, I would say. Could go back and look at footage.
Yeah.
We're going to show you guys how we do it, how we set up the buffer.
Yeah, this shit isn't just thrown together. I mean, there's a lot of time spent into the...
Yeah, you'll see it on the intro.
Yep.
And it takes you got to have it. You got to have the equipment to do it. And it's like most guys probably, unless you're a rancher, don't have the capabilities to do it.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys will see it and they're like, oh, that's nothing new. But we have a pretty damn good setup with just how, not only how we have it set up, but the I would say the migratory route of what the animals are right there. There is a very unique situation there where you can keep killing and they just keep on moving in. And we're going to kind of show you guys the layout. We're not going to give you guys any GPS coordinates and bullshit, because then we might accidentally mistake you as the coyote if you're covering our shit. But that'd be kind of a little bit of an idea. And then we're going to do a couple podcasts on, we've got a whole list of guys.
I was going to say, we got a lot of different people that are.
We got to do one with Chad at LRI. We're going to do one with Fox Pro, Les Johnson, Eberly Stock. We just crushed Ultimate Night Visions. We hammered Utah Air Guns last week. We got Michael Bocklary from YouTube. We have David Kiff from PTG.
From Loophole.
Loophole, sorry, my bad. And what we're going to kind of do is we're going to do some podcasts on some of our very successful sets last year, where we killed a couple filmed doubles in a 200-yard radius, 150-yard radius within probably 3 weeks' time.
Well, we made 3 sets there.
3 sets, 3 doubles, and about within 3 weeks,
2 doubles and a triple.
Oh, you're right. Yes, 2 doubles and triple,
Yep.
all within about 150-yard radius, and they're all on YouTube.
Yep.
And that's, I mean, we could brag about it, but we're just going to show you guys, hey, you know, a lot of guys, there's so many damn questions out there. It's blinking now. Oh. So many questions, guys. Hey, how fast can you go back to make a set? Because like, oh, you do it one time and you're done. Oh, you can do it every day. We'll tell you how we did it.
You can do it as many times as you want.
If your
success rate is, changes.
Exactly. And it could be, you just never know. Oh. But we'll tell you kind of how we do it and lay it out. But that's it. That's the rundown. I hope you fellas enjoyed it. I hope that you found it a little bit entertaining, but more importantly, informational. Hope you guys grasp some knowledge from it. You got anything to say?
I don't.
Once again, I'm James O'Neill with O'Neill Ops. This is Keith Rissy as co-host with the Predator Hunter podcast, available on iTunes, Spotify. It's on the Anchor platform. A lot of guys can't find it. Look for Predator Hunter or search James O'Neill. You'll find it. Be sure to check out O'Neill Ops on YouTube. Our goal is 100,000 subscribers. I think we're at like 55,000 right now. Subscribe, hit the bell. You'll be notified anytime we put up a new video. We've got a ton of them in the editing process. Instagram, you are
O'Neill Ops Predator, Pro Staff.
O'Neill Ops Pro Staff. I'm O'Neill Ops on Instagram, O'Neill Ops on Facebook. We even got Twitter, dude. I don't want to get political, but I get on. I can't handle that. I gotta get.
You're just a freak on there too.
I have to get political, guys. If you like guns, fucking wake up, son of a bitch. If you carry a gun and you like guns, you should damn well know who to vote for crying out loud. We're out. Oh, my head is freaking getting it.